Zero Authority is a community of people who believe in open source and permissionless systems. Thanks for supporting the community. Remember why you started.
We believe in this opportunity to work in Web3, and people coming in will be a massive shift.
There's a lot of opportunities that are for naught, they're lost, and their people's skills and their what they're really capable of doing is not able to be shined through right now.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whoever you are. Zero Authority is a community of people who believe in open source and permissionless systems secured by Bitcoin. Today, we have another special guest, and I've been looking forward to this for a few months here. I first heard Amalia talking on the ordinals space, and I think it was by the Twitter space on the ordinals council, and what you've been building with the council, what you've been building with ToshiPad, and just all of the endeavors that you've been working on the last couple months have been really cool, really interesting. And we're going to get into a lot of topics today. So we're going to talk about some of the Bitcoin DeFi stuff you've been building. We're going to talk about the launch of ToshiPad and BRC20. We're going to talk about what you do with the Ordinal Council and who is the Ordinal Council. We'll talk about all of that and a little bit more too. And I'm sure we'll deep dive into some topics that come up throughout the conversation. And if you're watching this, please join us, and you can chat on Twitter, on Twitch, on YouTube, and we'll pull some of the comments on. We already see one from My Nation. Amazing. So thanks for watching and thanks for tuning in. Thanks for having some questions. Please keep them coming in. Before we jump to all of that, Amalia, Hodl, how are you guys doing today?
Quite good. You mean tonight?
Yes, tonight. Sorry.
Yeah, it's late night for her. Yeah, it's a good day out here on the east coast of the U.S. for me. Beautiful weather, springtime's in the air, so yeah, it's wonderful. But really happy to be here.
Amalia, and you it's pretty late where you are, so hopefully you don't fall asleep on us.
No, I guess crypto is 24/7, especially on the bull market. So I don't think I will sleep. I think I will trade.
Yeah, that sounds pretty accurate. I think all of us can relate, especially with how much Bitcoin has run up so far, and just the halving coming up. I'm sure if you're like the crypto enthusiast, you're refreshing your the Bitcoin apps and the crypto apps to see what's the latest news, what's the latest headlines, and what's going on. So just want to kick off this conversation. I know you're building some things called ToshiPad, and you're building with Ordinal Council. But before we get into all of that, just tell us about your background and like how did you find Bitcoin, and what made you kind of stick around the ecosystem and join some really cool other builders in the space.
So I came across Bitcoin paper quite early, Bitcoin white paper in 2010. And at the same time, I happened to be having TV post production studio. And that particular studio happened to have accelerated hardware in order to expedite things on editing last minute. And so we had some graphic cards going on. And together with my partner at the time, we decided that let's experiment, let's see what this cryptocurrency of Bitcoin is, and let's try to mine something because maybe one day it will get somewhere. And it was more kind of a fun experiment. We got the mining software, we plugged it into completely custom graphic cards, and obviously at that time you didn't need that much hash rate to get any Bitcoin, and obviously not yet profitable because Bitcoin was of a tiny price. But then we never thought of like sort of making money on this. It was more about the fun, about the thrill, and that, there is this idea of having globally decentralized liquidity of this cryptocurrency, and the whole idea of decentralization, um, and being able to transact cross-border with anybody permissionlessly was the biggest thrill for us. So that was in 2010. And 5 years later, I exited the operation and I moved from Europe to UAE, to Dubai. And since then, I kind of I never left the blockchain and cryptocurrency niche. I was researching more and more. And at one point, I just turned all of my business into Web3. And like at that point, when I made this decision, Web3 was already existing, right? So I saw first contracts on XRP, then Ethereum, and all of those beautiful things that turned Web2 to Web3 at early stages. So yeah, it kind of got me in so much that I decided to make all of my life about it, and here I am today.
Wow, that is awesome. I tell you, we found one of the OGs. You were sharing the mining pool with Satoshi at the time and everything. That is, you were quite early. That's exciting.
Well, it is exciting, but I do believe I was just at the right place at the right time. So-called lucky bastard.
That's awesome. That is crazy. That's really cool.
Yeah, that's cool. So that's cool too that you stuck around. You got to research all of the things that were kind of going on. You mentioned like 2015, 2016 era. There was just so many people around back then that were just doing innovative things, and the people that stuck around, you see them like everything that's being built now is basically from those folks, or if not from earlier. So it's yeah, it's exciting. Probably the people that you spent time around and the projects you were researching, the people you were in the forums with and everything else, those people have grown to build all kinds of interesting things. And here you are building something that's also really interesting.
Yeah, here again about ordinals and how did it happen. Yet again, the lucky bastard was at the right place at the right time, coming across ordinals actually just, I do believe, 7-8 months pre-release of ordinals white paper by Casey Rothermore. I've been actually on a project still at that time in a stealth mode that was building an infrastructure around dispensing sharing of Bitcoin hash rate. But obviously, the construct was going through some sort of either bridge or flip on institutional account on TEX in order to get from BTC to WBTC and then distribute further. Obviously, the best idea would be to have the direct distribution of native BTC to someone who's sharing hash rate from your Bitcoin miners. But at the time, we didn't even research that. It wasn't that common. It wasn't something that you would been have built in timely manner. And imagine us just finalizing the construct. The smart contracts are ready. We're ready to launch, and then Ordinal's white paper comes released, and I'm like, at one, from one perspective, amazing, something new, actually exactly what I was looking for, because that would allow me to distribute the hash rate for a native Bitcoin, right? Because I don't have to bridge for example, an NFT holder on EVM to get WBTC instead, which actually is kind of pointless because that's not decentralized liquidity, it's just a synthetic peg. So with that being said, I was both angry and super happy to come across this documentation from Casey, because from one side we just finished building the project and ready to launch, and on the other side, us just deciding to actually not launch what we built, but completely reconstruct onto Ordinal's protocol. And project is called Blue Mining. So Blue Mining was actually installed during just pre-Ordinals period, and then it launched on Ordinals as we decided to change everything. So that's a fun fact for this project. And
that's quite the pivot, right? You're like, we're ready to launch here, and then boom, it kind of just, the hammer dropped, as I like to tell Huddle, like just everything changed with the Ordinals white paper. Holy moly.
exactly. So imagine being pissed and super happy at the same time. That was the situation.
Yeah, short-term pain for long-term better product, right? So you're like, this sucks, but guess what? It'll be pretty hype in the long term. And yeah, here you are now, and so it is hype.
Exactly. So this is how I came around into Ordinal's ecosystem, basically by being on a project that wasn't in it, and then suddenly we just decided to switch. So obviously with that switch, we have met people that have been building very interesting constructs on top of Bitcoin since Taproot and SegWit upgrades. Uh, Also pre-ordinals having their cross-chain oracles already built, being able to provide, yeah, that's exactly Blue Mining. Um, so what happened is that we
mining, you guys, I think you guys were on the Alex launchpad recently.
It wasn't that recently. I think I was a year ago.
I lose track of time.
And Web 3 years, my friend, that's like 100 years ago.
It's a week ago is a long time in Web3.
Exactly. So during the switch into ordinals for Blue Mining before the launch, we came across amazing developers that been actually building on Taproot pre-ordinals. And before we started working with them, they were able to actually issue a loan in USDC on an EVM based off collateralized loan on native Bitcoin on in the native escrow on directly on Bitcoin. So we chose to work with these particular engineers. Their company is called Deep Lake Finance, as you probably have already expected that I'm going to say that. Name drop again. Shout out to the team from Deep Lake Finance, obviously. And then at the time of launching Blue Wheel, I got to talk to one of my good friends since many years, and he mentioned like, hey, we're going to be doing something on ordinals. Do you want to join? It's very interesting. So this is how Ordinals Council happened. It's a collective of people which are in Web3 long term that have had success before, either from their technical scope or their Web3 marketing scope. And they came together. Some of us were friends before, some of us friends of friends, around 30 people. And at the brainstorming time, another white paper comes. And guess what? Mr. Domo releases BRC20 experiment.
Yeah, you just seem to be in the right place at the right time, huh?
Yeah, always getting into trouble.
Yeah. That's what it's all about, though. You're anticipating what's about to happen, and then when everything's ready to go, you're primed to jump on it. Yeah, a little backstory. We've chatted with the guys from Deep Lake before, and we know a couple of their team members and all. They're good. Yeah, it's a good group. They're really really smart people. But yeah, Zero, you ready to kick it?
Yeah, and really quick, wanted to give a shout out to Deep Lake. We when we talk to them, they're super technical. They have a lot of great products, and what they're doing, we consider Deep Lake and uh I was just drawing a blank. I see his. I know his name. Aki from DLC from DLCs. I think what they're doing to bring infrastructure to the Bitcoin space and make it easy to develop and use Taproot is just amazing. So yeah, just shout out to them. And Amalia, that kind of brings us to the point where you like kind of you saw the ordinals white paper drop, then obviously Domo drops BRC 20s, and then where does it connect with the Ordinals Council? Because I think that's just like some interesting work you're doing there.
All right. So what happens? Domo drops that experimental paper and documentation, and as we're brainstorming, we're like, we should definitely do something on this. How do we do this? How do we? Okay, we have to have immediately Bitcoin full node. We have to have XYZ. How to do this? If we deploy the ticker, how much supply? Hard to drive utility on account-based token that is on UTXO-based chain. So what do we do? So we decided that we will deploy. Yes, that's exactly. Domo, shout out for making things very complicated but very interesting at the same time. Exactly. And we decided
I never get to use those little features. So shout out to Domo. Yeah, just phenomenal work for that's awesome, man.
So then we decide that we're going to deploy a ticker on a BRC 20s, which our first OG token is called CNCL, obviously standing for the Ordinals Council. And this OG token, it's considered an OG batch of early tokens, and it has 10,000 total token supply. So it's definitely not enough to drive utility, but we also handle that. I will get to that later. So CNCL is 10,000 total token supply, and it was obviously a free decentralized mint where each wallet per one transaction could mint one token only. But at the time, the mempool fees were quite low. People were minting, but not many people were minting. It was more some people experimenting at the same time. So from what I remember, it could have been around $1 per transaction fee. So who's been early and has been minting on a mempool that wasn't clocked at the time has paid circa $1 per one CNCL. Some time passes, and guess what? The CNCL OG batch token reaches 500x. I do believe it was so early that was one of the first ever BRC 20s to do a 500x performance. Obviously counted from the transaction fee on the mint per one token. And I'm not sure if all of the public is familiar, but just to let you know or to remind you, on free decentralized mints, on firm mints, the fees aren't going to the token deployer. The fees are going to the lovely miners that allow us to relay inscriptions on Bitcoin. So that means that we deployed the ticker, and actually, in order to have any interest in like financially in the project, we also minted the tokens out. So the holders are a combination of the council and combination of the community, because at the time it was very rarely, or like you wouldn't see anything like that on the mempool before. So people who who monitored the mempool at the time noticed that something is happening and started paying attention, and somehow it got traction organically. And here we are today. Today we also have a second token called Toshi token. Symbol is TSHX. It was launched, I do believe, around a week ago or a bit plus. And that token obviously has enough total token supply in order to drive utility in Ordinals Council ecosystem. It's 21 million tokens.
how long was it after when did Domo drop BRC 20? How long after was it Ordinals and what KC dropped?
It was it 2 or 3 months? It was like in between. I think around 2 months.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it was. I don't remember exactly. Either it was from February to mid March or April.
Hmm.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it was like maybe this time last year, but yeah, plus like a month or so, something like that. Yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah,
So we're currently looking at the Toshipad website, which is a BRC20 native launchpad that utilizes TSHX token as its own utility token. All of the TSHX holders need to keep their tokens in their wallets during the snapshot. For each IDO dropping, there is a separate snapshot being taken, and depending on how many TSHX you're holding at the time, you get into a more tokens, higher tier in order to get access to a bigger allocation of an IDO. And these are all so far BRC20 tokens natively on layer 1.
How when when you launched the Toshi pad, what was the idea behind just the launch and doing BRC 20? Because what you had said when you were talking on the Ordinal Council Twitter space, it really resonated because I don't believe the technology is far enough now where when someone mints a BRC 20, it's happening. Um, I don't know if it's a timing thing or when they're paying the miners, how that process works. But you so you you said it so eloquently during the space, and I just wanted you to just tell us, the idea behind ToshiPad and the decentralization choices.
Right. So you probably have seen, even before Toshipad officially went live on mainnet, you probably have seen a couple or maybe a plenty BRC20 launchpads, but at least 70% of them are on a layer 2, or they call it a Bitcoin layer 2, but in most cases, they don't even leverage Bitcoin security or finality. And obviously, none of them can ever use native Bitcoin. They can use only synthetic peg. So for me personally, and that is obviously a personal opinion, so I hope nobody gets offended, but WBTC is not BTC. Period. Um,
And
yeah.
you WBTC, I don't think Huddle would disagree with that because I definitely don't. I completely agree that it's not BTC.
no. If I have to go to an intermediary to get my Bitcoin, that doesn't sound like Bitcoin to me. So,
Right. So yeah, where I'm getting to is that there is a plenty of launchpads that currently support BRC20 format or even other formats on top of ordinals or ordinals themselves. But plenty of them are either on a layer 2, which is actually just an EVM mostly. I wouldn't even call it a Bitcoin layer 2. It's just an EVM specifically dedicated to synthetic pegs of something that is natively on Bitcoin. But that's fine because they're bringing extra utility into play, so nothing wrong with that. Um, which is not my preference. And then there is also a plenty of product that is, I mean, it's there is a lot of centralized constructs as well, and that's due to BRC20s being account based and Bitcoin being an UTXO based chain, whereas you actually have to pay 2 transaction fees in order to do one move, right? So in order to bring a function to a product directly on the layer 1 based of BRC20 movement, you have to push 2 4, 6, and plus double and double UTXO every time, and that either has to be paid by the product platform or the user, or both. So considering that the costs are major, and also each of these UTXOs have to take a Bitcoin transaction time. So obviously it's not immediate and it's not cheap, and in most of the cases, if the token price isn't super high, like $500, like all-time high of CNCL, which is quite rare, then it's just not feasible for user to use the product and for platform to provide such service in certain construct. That's why there's a plenty of centralized parts of the products in the space, where again it's a preference. Some people, some users, some holders don't mind putting their BRC20s into someone's custody, and then trusting that that the balances aren't tampered with, that they're getting their tokens back. Trusting that there is no arbitrage and profit taken from their own tokens in between. So that's again a preference. I prefer to have complete control over my tokens. I don't like other people having control. So this is why I like Bitcoin. So we're keep on coming back to the same principle of decentralization and trustlessness, right? So with that being said, there is also 2 or 3 other BRC20 native launchpads that are actually decentralized. But there is an issue where obviously, in order to distribute small amounts of tokens to a lots of wallets, platform that dispenses that has to pay inscribed transferable fee for each. That means if I have 1 million tokens and I would like to distribute 100 tokens each wallet, I would have to pay lots of money in order to distribute. And now, as a launchpad, if I have to put that cost onto the project that is raising money, in most of the cases, half or more of that money they're raising would be eaten up by those fees. So, with that being said, we found a way on how to push the cost of inscribed transferable onto the user itself that is actually using the launchpad to purchase the allocation. So everybody pays for his own inscribed transferable that normally would have to be paid by the platform times as many users as they're engaging at the time. So that allows us to actually make it more feasible, and more feasible for us, and also more feasible for the projects that are launching their IDOs. So that's for both. So that definitely will boost the growth in the space, for especially for the projects that would like to have public rounds. And it is very important to I think it's very important.
Let me give you a clap there. That's amazing, Amalia.
The clap is for the whole Ordinals Council and the company that we also are partner with to use their APIs in order to help us to facilitate all of those steps, which is Ordinals Bot. So I need another clap, please. Another clap, please.
There you go, Zero.
Yeah, that one was slower, but yeah, I know Rough Star was on the Twitter space too, and shout out to him. He's the Ordinals bot is the whole organization is awesome.
Yeah. So where I'm going with this, I think it's important for the projects that decided to pre-mint their tokens and try to build tokenomics and launch product up front, and also obviously have a public round fundraise for an IDO. I think it's important for those to, once they launch live for public trading, that they have initially a lot of wallets. And in order to reach those wallet holders, those initial users, if you're not so-called ferment, where fees go only to miners, it's good to have a big, fat public round in order to reach there. And obviously, more wallet holders you get, better you look in front of the all centralized exchanges. And obviously, the holy grail is for for the projects that build products, spend time, spend their money to also get on tax, so the token price can perform much higher. And although obviously taxes, centralized exchanges are centralized, the upside of being able to list on tax not only the token price itself, which is an obvious upside, the performance, the other upside is that people who don't have interest of using tokens directly on chain, which are not maybe familiar on how wallets work, they're scared, they're not as technical, or just they're not savvy, or maybe they're not as young as us, so they're not as familiar and used to working in such environments per se. I think it's important for them to be able to discover that there are BRC20 tokens, and as they might get attention on them through tax listings, they can start reading more about them and on what they are. Find out that they will be definitely surprised that these tokens are directly on Bitcoin, and then when searching further, the next step of understanding is that okay, it's an inscription on Bitcoin. That means not only I can trade the inscription value, but also at the same time I'm holding the value of a fraction of Bitcoin in my wallet. So one day, in a couple years, this guy who found out about the BRC20 token that just had a good price performance on Tex, he wakes up to his wallet holding more value as fraction of Bitcoin than the token price itself, if you know what I mean. So the tokens are inscribed on satoshis, right? There is a certain amount of satoshis that takes the space on. So the satoshis themselves will be one day worth more than the inscription value on its own. It will be very interesting to see.
Yeah, it's wild to think about. Even even the things that don't do well, you still have it's still Bitcoin in the end, right? Yeah, there's nothing else out there like that in crypto, for sure. But yeah, I was thinking, if people wanted to go check this out today, like if they wanted to go and go to ToshiPad and wanted exposure to these new projects that were coming out, like how does it work today? Like if I were to try and go and use it.
Right, and I've seen that as I was speaking like a train, like a plane. It never ends. You shown us on the screen the latest partnership with Bybit Web3 Wallet. If we can come back on that, that's I believe either on my profile or yeah, council profile. Here it goes. We recently officially partnered with Bybit Web3 Wallet and especially their inscription launchpad. We're very lucky to work with them on their second ever inscription launchpad BRC20 launch, which was our TSA Flex.
Yeah, that this is some huge news. When I saw this after that Twitter space, I just thought, the tsunami and the wave is coming. There's a lot of interest, and especially L1 native assets, BRC20 native assets. That's going to be something that people want. The thing that has taken me by storm with ordinals and BRC20 is it's not just that people want this to happen, but just kind of like, I tell Huddle, like I knew about UTXO, but I mean, like how many Bitcoiners know about UTXO and they claim to be Bitcoiners, but the ordinals has really reframed a lot of our minds because like now we see like the idea of one Satoshi is actually traceable. Before people said it was traceable, but you really didn't see how that was happening. But now with ordinals, the ordinal protocol and BRC20, and even like these rare Satoshis, like the market for rare Satoshis like has been insane. And now I even think about like the Bitcoin I hold. I know there was a Megapunks that launched, and there were a couple of Satoshis that were from block 2601, and it was one of the rare Satoshis. and I have one of those, and I just think like, yeah, at some point, you're right, Amalia. At some point in the future, people will care about what Satoshi are you holding, and that's going to be probably really valuable at some point in the future.
All right. So not only we did our TSA checks with Bybit Web Free Wallet Inscription Launchpad, but also what pivoted into that long-term partnership is that we got to also get part of the public grant allocation of the next project that also launched on Toshipad. And it's actually, I think it's just the allocations are just closing because it was just it is a fresh one, fresh launch. So we got to work with Bybit again on the IDO. So part of the IDO was again launched on Bybit Web3 and part on Toshipad. So it's very interesting experience. It's I think it's very important to also show people inscriptions, even though it's it's through centralized exchange. It is still a custodial wallet because they need to distribute. They have an ability to actually distribute the allocations immediately, which means not with Bitcoin transaction time. It's still a custodial wallet, but it has a certain upside. And definitely, Bybit is one of the most, if not currently number one, trustworthy exchanges. So again, personal opinion, I definitely trust Bybit with my monies so far. Um, so
And
we
and
decided
I don't. I
to
think
pivot into
Bybit, they've
partnership.
they've been around for a while now, and I've heard their name for many years. I mean, to me, the Bybit and Coinbase, like they're safe. Like your money's safe. I've never heard anything bad about Bybit.
Yeah, and I've noticed that they also definitely are focused right now on increasing compliance. And I've been hearing from my friends that are launching different projects and different niches on Web3 that to get listed on Bybit, it really takes a long work. So yeah, it's definitely harder to list, but that means that it's definitely safer. It's protecting users from from getting into something that they shouldn't. So definitely, increasing compliance, especially after after the FTX fiasco. I think it's very important
Yeah.
to keep those sex users that are most likely don't even know how to use MetaMask, or 100% not knowing how to use Unisat. um, Also, shout out to Lorenzo at the same time. I'm happy that there are entities that are taking care of those users and still onboarding them into crypto, still showing them the beauty of blockchain, but in small steps and definitely under protection.
Yeah, completely agree with that. Is I think there's just more as more attention comes into Web3, Bitcoin, and the markets become more mature. There's going to be more focus on compliance and making sure that actors and people who are in the space are in it for the right reasons. And so people like you, Amalia, like this is this is the moment where you've been here for a while. You get to use those relationships you built and the credibility you've built in a trustless world. That means a lot, you know.
Oh, one more thing. So I've been told that the CEO of Bybit, Mr. Ban, has actually tweeted or retweeted about TSHX launch on his personal Twitter. I need that on screen, please. If we can.
We gotta let me
It's
pull that
at
up.
Ben Bybit.
Ben Bybit.
So Mr. Ben happened to, I do believe, retweet or quote tweet the announcement from Bybit Web3 Wallet and I think saying that this will sell out in 10 seconds. Let's go. And as
Now
you
let's
probably
see.
noticed, he doesn't really post much about specific projects. unless mantle, right? But obviously, but like the next project I've seen mentioned, it was Toshipad. So shout out to Mr. Ben. And
Yeah.
I've noticed, I think yesterday, that the next project he posted about is specifically Merlin chain. So Mr. Ben knows what's cooking. Mr. Ben knows that the niche is the niche. So watch out EVMs, watch out Rust chains. We're coming. Toshipad is here. Merlin chain is here. Be careful. The niche is taking over.
Well, that's a huge endorsement to get Ben to share that tweet. I mean, he's super bullish on Toshipad, so that's awesome.
Yeah, that's great to see right there. Yeah, I'm. You've made me very bullish, so I'm gonna have to go and figure out how to buy this up after we get off the call.
Well, obviously, you have an option to go to Bybit app, switch to Web3 Inscription Launchpad, and do some things there. The UI is definitely Bybit grade, so it's much easier to operate on than Unisat.
Yeah, I'm I'm actually me too, Huddle. I'm the same way. I'm because I've been looking to see how I can get more involved with what you're doing with Toshipad, and obviously I've been looking forward to this conversation. I remember when I was DMing with you, Amalia, you were like, it's pretty late here," and I was like, it's 10 p.m." You're like, "No, it's 2 a.m." So I was like, holy moly! But yeah, I'm just like so glad we could have you on the live stream here today and just share all the great work that you've done. And I didn't know you were such a real OG in the Bitcoin space. I obviously I knew you were building, I knew you were working with the Ordinal Council, and I obviously had the partnership with Bybit. That's just huge. But like huge shout out to you, to Ordinal Council, to Ordinal's bots. I mean, that's just amazing. It's really cool to see this tweet from Ben too. I know Ben on Bybit is super busy but for him to take a couple minutes and do a retweet, that's huge.
Well, I wouldn't call myself an OG. I'm still an LB, lucky bastard it is.
Well, so wanted to pivot back to Hoddle's question. How can how can people get involved with Toshipad and just like if like they want to list their projects or if they want to participate in some of the IDOs?
Right. So for the projects that are interested into having their public round with us, please reach out to any of the council members. You can recognize us by wearing. We are basically wearing on our PFP an orange cape. Our community wears yellow. We're wearing orange. So if you look, for example, at our Telegram group chat, our public Telegram, you can see who is wearing orange, and most of us have admin status in there too. So feel free to reach out to any of us, and we will have an initial conversation to find out what is your project about, how does your product look like, is it directly on layer one, is it on EVM, is it partially half, is there any centralization in it or not. And as long as there is utility, and I think it's also important to start tapping into current gaps of what's very needed in the niche but it's lacking. So I'm definitely personally looking towards applications from those kind of projects. If you see that there is an issue and if you see there is a need from the community and it's not yet there, nobody has solved the problem yet because it's a bit complicated, but you happen to know how to do this, I'm definitely looking towards working with you. And so, yeah, we first find out what your project is about. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're happy to work through it with you together because we know the niche is early and everybody is learning from each other. Everybody has different solutions to different bottlenecks. So definitely more brains is better. So feel free to reach out to any of us and start the process. And yeah, we're also I wanted to mention that the council itself, as a sort of a team, has 100 seats in total, and right now around 30 are filled. So if you happen to be a skilled Bitcoin developer or a skilled strategist in the niche, or someone very interesting who could complement our collective, never say never. It could be an initiation into the Orange Cape occult. You never know.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. A council of 100. You guys have 30 so far. It sounds like some gigabrains are in there, and it probably takes a gigabrain to get in, and that's exciting. It's exciting to spend time with people that are that driven. So yeah, yeah, not for the uninitiated, right?
Well, yeah, the step one is to actually wear a yellow cape. And thank you for asking about that. I obviously forgot, my bad. Another shout out to Ordzar Marketplace. We have done our PFP launch on our own website, which was a whitelist for CNCL holders at the time. And we had a public round of our ordinal PFPs for our community, the so-called Yellow Cape Initiates, on Ordzar Marketplace. If we could show Ordzar right now, that would be amazing. So shout out to Nakib and his team. It's been amazing working with these guys as well. Another stock of beautiful brains in the space. So yeah, first step is to get
How do you
yeah
spell
Ordzar.
it? Zaar.
I believe so.
Okay, let's. I think this is him. Let's see. Right here.
There should be a penalty for not knowing Ordzar. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, there. I am ashamed that I do not know Ordzar. Shame on me, but I will now.
So Ordzar is actually a permissionless launchpad and a marketplace for ordinals, where a creator can come in, and there's basically a very, very friendly UI and UX, and he can fill all the necessary information about his collection. He can upload the artwork, and he can use an on-chain provenance that they provide as a service. So you can actually inscribe as on-chain provenance to verify your collection, and you don't need anybody's permission to do that. And they also have their in-house service that lets the user, that means, pay for the inscription. The creator doesn't have to pay upfront, which is also tapping into these bottlenecks, right? Because let's say if you're a creator, normally you would have to pre-inscribe the ordinal, which image is definitely taking much more space on Satoshis than a JSON file, which is a BRC20. So imagine having to inscribe an image on 10,000 Satoshis while Bitcoin is pumping, and also while mempool is clogged. The fee of that is around $1,000.
Ouch! Yeah, that's
Just for inscribing. So
that's pricey.
yeah, so that's definitely has been a big bottleneck for creators and builders that utilize ordinals also for financial product entry. Um, so with that being said, I think, as I've said, the projects that are tapping into bottlenecks that we have currently in the niche and solving them are, for me, the most important, and Ordzar is one of them. So they obviously have this infrastructure. As a creator, you can upload, and then whomever comes to purchase on the first-hand market, he gets to inscribe, and he pays for this inscription. Obviously, the fee, whichever was set by the creator, is going to the creator. You can also do a free mint. Then people only pay for the inscription cost, which is again going to miners. And as there was an on-chain provenance established before for verified collection, anything traded on Ordzar on a secondary also has an option to get a secondary fees back to the creator's wallet.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's something that I love to see these ordinal marketplaces do is they look out for the creator fees and all of that, um, and then making it so easy. That's the other thing that bottleneck. It sounds really similar to some of the solutions that you did yourself with the launch pad of. It sounds like you guys are aligned on some of those solutions.
Kind of, but the difference is that images inscribed directly on Ordinals protocol. Sorry, if we could just mute for 1 second. Sorry, there was an echo. So there is a difference between ordinals, for example, images inscribed on Satoshis, where these are UTXO based. So you don't have to pay those double transaction fees. And working with BRC20s, you have to pay double transaction fees for everything. So with that being said, it's definitely at least double, if not quadruple, more complicated to make the same things work for BRC20s themselves versus the ordinals. So, for example, JPEGs on ordinals.
Why is it double the cost?
So the explanation is very easy. Bitcoin is UTXO based. Ordinals are UTXO based. BRC20s on top of ordinals are account based. So they're actually
Okay, that makes
not
sense.
compatible. That means in order to do one step with the BRC20 token, with the inscription, you have to actually pay 2 transaction fees. So you actually keep on reinscribing the JSON. And with the ordinal, you already have the inscription number that has been established at the first time when it was inscribed, and it doesn't change if you transfer it to someone. Right? Does it make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, being account based, that makes sense. Amalia, we're getting to the end here. This has been a really fascinating conversation. You know, when I reached out to you, I thought, oh, we're going to talk about some ordinals, the BRC launch pad, but you know, this has been just a really great conversation, and just hearing about your background is really cool. And I know what you're building is just going to be, the shift is happening, right? Just the future is pretty bright. Before we depart here, I wanted to ask you, what do you think the future of BRC 20 will be, and what do you think the future of ordinals will look like here in the next few years, and especially after the halvening?
Well, definitely, although the halving post that miners are expected to actually still maintain good fees due to extra rewards due to those relays of ordinals. Because obviously when we are transacting, we're paying to the miners at all times. So actually more clogged the mempool gets, higher the transaction fee gets, more reward do they get. They get. So although there is a halving, in my perspective, I think they would still they actually at one point might get more rewards than before the halving. Fun fact. Exactly. 34 days to go. Oh my god. The
It's
time is
coming.
flying.
It's coming.
Yeah. So I just before I go to sleep, I just wanted to show one more thing, which is our latest launch at Toshipad Launchpad, and in parallel on the Bybit Web3 wallet, which is a little dragon,
Yeah, let's do that.
handmade. And there is a lot of Asian symbolism, Asian numerology, specifically Chinese numerology, around this project. Obviously, if you can If you can maybe go to projects, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, that is the little dragon, the little cute dragon that
Really.
is bringing financial literacy and decentralized finance to the masses through him being cute and getting lots of attention, but actually hiding a lot of merit for people, a lot of education. Obviously, some native Bitcoin layer one staking. Um, so let's get ready for the dragon. Obviously, to participate, you would need to be holding TSHX, my dear, during the snapshot. But here is the cute dragon. He's throwing around red envelopes, which are in Chinese culture, sort of financial gift to your loved ones, to friends and family. So this is the lore is around celebration of the year of the dragon, which is the year of prosperity, the year of bull market, Bitcoin going to the moon, and bringing more financial literacy to the masses through the dragon lore. So he's cute, but he's smart at the same time.
Is is this the first project to be on the launchpad?
That's actually the second, because the first one was the TSHX itself, because we wanted to give an opportunity to the community to participate. So that was a paid public round, as well as for every CNCL holder of our OG token or our PFP yellow cape holder, there were free claims of TSHX. So we decided to give rewards to our early believers, pre-product believers. So they got TSHX claims, as well as there was a typical public round as well, to have more wallet holders. Obviously, also Bybit Web3 wallet inscription launchpad was involved. So yeah, we're all lucky bastards so far, including the dragon himself.
Yeah, cheers to being lucky bastards. It's maybe it's better than being an OG actually. Zero. We're gonna have to start memeing that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
OG
think
sounds
so. Lucky
so
bastard.
boring.
No,
But
this
I really think it's I feel super lucky being at the right place at the right time. Obviously, not knowing where is it going to take me, but I think I just tend to look for trouble. So so far so good though.
yeah, you're finding some good trouble, Amalia. Let's before we depart, wanted just to pull up your where people can find more about you. Is the best place to find more about you on Twitter?
Actually, my Twitter has been quite dormant, not completely empty, but I've been definitely neglecting Twitter for a long time. I
Okay.
actually used to, on the same profile, I used to have an anonymous nickname, Mirai no Ninja, which means the ninja of the future, the warrior of the future.
Hmm.
Um, but I recently switched it to my real name, which you can see also on the screen. And exactly at the same name at Amalia Grohal, you can find me as well on Instagram. You can find me obviously on LinkedIn with my real face on it. So feel free to venture on the screen. I'm scared at this point what is going to be shown. Yeah.
Well, this
So
this has been a fantastic conversation, and we're looking forward to seeing the growth of the Toshi Pad and what you're doing with Ordinal Council. It's just phenomenal work and tapping into the Bitcoin ecosystem, where it's just so awesome to be a part of this journey all together. The community's strong. The people who believe in Bitcoin, we've been we there used to be a number of people uh, who had larger voices than us. But I think with all the recent building on Bitcoin, people just want to get to the building and put all the other stuff to the side. So I really appreciate you coming on. Zero Authority Live today and just giving us an update on what you're building and how people can get involved. Is there a Discord, or is there some place that people can go and chat with a group of everyone?
Sure. So if you go back to the Ordinals Council main Twitter, there is some sort of link in bio, and there you can find our public Telegram, our Discord invite. Yeah, exactly. The Beacons AI. That
Okay.
includes all of our official socials. You can chat with us at Discord, at Telegram. Um, right. Oh, we're really. This PFP has become really bullish. I think this is a recent upgrade. I haven't seen that
And
animation.
where is this PFP from?
So this actually, we've been experimenting some stuff with AI. And so like
Nice.
initially we had a designer come up with the design, and we kept on changing. And then once we got into a general design of one, how we like it to look like, obviously it was important to use the Bitcoin orange, and it was important to stay anonymous. So that's why the mask. Um, and then AI helped with the varieties of those masks.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, so this is awesome. Well, again, appreciate you taking some time. I know it's really late where you are, and we're just like really bullish on the future of BRC20s and full decentralization on Bitcoin L1. We think the future is bright, and people like you, Amalia, you are one of the lucky bastards who are you're educating a lot of us who we are also lucky bastards. So we just appreciate your time again. Thanks so much for stopping by.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a pleasure. You know, we're building in the space too, and I'll definitely be pointing people to what you're building and all of that. I imagine some folks are going to be wanting to that we know that they're going to want to launch some BRC20s, and maybe we will one day too. But yeah, super excited for what you guys all are doing, and was really nice chatting with you today too. Getting your backstory and everything, and yeah, I hope to follow your journey.
Likewise. Thank you, guys.
All right, take care. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.
Zero Authority is a community of people who believe in open source and permissionless systems. Thanks for supporting the community. Remember why you started.